Nityananda, Shri Advaita Radha Shiva Sadi
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Narasimha, Jai Narasimha, Jai Lakshmi Narasimha.
Shri Narasimha, Jai Narasimha, Jaya
Narasimha,
Narasimha. Shri Narasimha, Jai Narasimha, Jai Lakshmi Narasimha. Shri Narasimha, Jai Narasimha, Jai Lakshmi Narasimha.
Shri Lakshmi Narasimha Deva ki jai. All glories to the the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Hari. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Happy Narasimha Caturdasi to everyone. Narasimha's blessings. Shri Shri Gornitai ki.
Jai.
Shri Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki.
Jai.
Shri Shri Radha Dihari ki.
Jai.
Shri Gurudev Bhagavan ki.
Jai.
We welcome you all that have come here to the temple tonight for this joyous occasion of celebrating the appearance of Lord Narasimha. Also a special welcome to those that couldn't be here and are joining us via YouTube. Thank you for coming out tonight. Before we started this program, we went on Harinam Sankirtan. We went up and down the street of Germantown Avenue, chanted the holy names, met some really nice people, distributed some books and some list bar prashadam to people. It was a wonderful way to start this program, and we're going to continue through the night. The next part of the program, we're going to have a discourse on Lord Narasimha by His Grace Vishnu Prabhu. And then right after that, we're going to have the drama. And this is where we're going to need people's cooperation. This announcement will be made again at the end of the class. But we're going to go outside for the drama. So we're going to have to move from here out. And then once you're out, you can't come back in until the drama is over. But if you're in here and you want to come and you decide you want to go to the drama, you won't be able to come through because that's the only way out. So, at the end of the lecture, we can all just, nicely just go outside. We're seating out there for people. Some people want to stand, some people want to sit on the ground. And then we'll have the drama outside. We really think this will be a wonderful experience for everybody. One last thing I just wanted to mention. Some of you took the darshan of Shri Shri Radha Dihari, Shri Shri Gornitai, and Chota Radha Krishna. They were recently painted. Very, very sweet. Much needed maintenance of the deities. And if you didn't pay close attention when the deity doors open again, make sure you pay close attention to the features of Shri Shri Radharani and Dihari, and just how intricate they are. We had a painter, a devotee painter by the name of Darvika Mataji, which is originally from Russia, very well trained in painting, very, very transcendental personality. We watched her prepare and paint, and the Shravanam and the Kirtanam and the Smartanam that she goes through just prior to painting, and the connection with the deities, and the love that comes out of them. Radharani, her color is what color? Golden. And if you meditate on her long enough, you actually see the golden complexion come through. This is the talent and transcendental art of this great painter. And she came to do the seva to our deities, so we're very, very grateful to her. Please make sure you take special darshan once again. Okay, this time we're going to hear from His Grace Vishnu Prabhu and the Lord is Vishnu.
Where do you want to sit?
You can sit there now, because the doors are closed. If that's okay.
Hey.
Om Namo Bhagavate Narasimhaya.
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 We are going to be speaking, as you know, about Lord Narasimha. And it goes, Lord Narasimha was always going along with his devotee. God is not lonely. He is always with his associates, friends, lovers, etc. So we go from Lord Narasimha and Lord and it's said in the Srimad Bhagavatam that the I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master has opened my eyes with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. I first must offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura. You want to get this? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare When I was doing a little preparation for talking about Lord Narasimha, we talked about Lord Narasimha's, what's that word for his activities that he usually use? This activity of Lord Narasimha and Prahlad Maharaj, this is Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead's pastime, which means he's having some fun. And we're hearing about how he's having fun. It may seem a little bit tense sometimes, but actually the whole thing is going on for the pleasure of Lord Narasimha. So, in reviewing the activities of Prahlad Maharaj and Lord Narasimha, most of you are familiar with many of the parts of it. So I thought I'd break it down into little bites. Eight parts. And we briefly talk about each one and see if there's something, a lesson we can learn and apply to our own lives in each area. Okay? Does it make sense? Okay. All right. So here's the way I broke it down. This is just my breaking it down. Some of the chapters are a little bit different than Srimad Bhagavatam. How did this whole thing begin? That's one. You don't have to answer right now. 2, the pregnancy of Diti. Anybody know who Diti is?
Wife of Kashyap.
Yeah. Okay. 3, Hiranyakashipu is triggered to action. 4, the birth of Prahlad Maharaj. 5, Prahlad's teaching to his friends. 6, Prahlad suffering abuse from his father. 7, Lord Nrsimhadev's appearance. And 8, Prahlad's prayers to Lord Nrsimhadev. Okay, you got those? Any questions so far? We'll have a little discussion, makes it a little fun too. We'll have a little pastime for ourselves. Okay, for the first one was what? Did you remember the first one? What was the first one? First section.
How did it begin?
How did it begin? Very good. So some of you know, but this is very, very, very important. So there were the first mind-born sons of the first created living entity named Lord Brahma were the 4 Kumaras. And Lord Brahma, his business was he wanted to populate the universe. So they were his first sons. And he said, well, I want you boys to populate, you be your children. And you know what they said?
Not interested.
Sorry. We prefer just to take the spiritual life. We get involved in family life. You get all kinds of distractions there. So they kept themselves as little 5-year-old boys. So they're called the 4 Kumaras. Right? So they stay as little boys, even though they're ancient, practically the most ancient beings besides Lord Brahma in the universe. So they were wandering throughout the universe, and they had an opportunity to get out to the doors of the spiritual world in Vaikuntha. And there are 2 doorkeepers in Vaikuntha by the name of Jai and Vijay say, no, you're not entering, no, sorry. And the boy said, what do you mean? There's nothing wrong with us, we're allowed, we should be able to wander anywhere we want. So they cursed Giant Vijay to take birth in the material world. And just as this was going on, along comes, who do you think came along then? To kind of assess the situation and resolve it and make it happen. Lord Vishnu, Lord Narayan came. Now, the Kumaras had cursed Giant Vijay. Giant Vijay were there in the spiritual world. So Lord Vishnu said, don't worry, I'll give you the benediction that even you go into the material world, you won't forget me. And you have your choice. You could take 3 births as demons or 7 births as devotees.
why do you think, now here's something to think about. Why do you think Lord Narayan gave him this choice of 3 births as demons or 7 births as devotees? It seems like he's trying to edge him to become demons. Isn't it? Very good, very good. The Vedic aphorism is Janmad Yashya Yataha. Everything is coming from the personality of Godhead. So, even the fighting propensity that you and I have, we don't use it that way. But that fighting propensity, it's also there in Krishna. And who does Krishna want to fight? If he wants to fight, he'll fight with his devotees. And there's no, fighting is not going on in the spiritual world. So, he gets that opportunity when he comes to this world, to this material world. Another point of this, in this part at the beginning is, where did you and I come from originally? Is it like Adam and Eve? Like giant Vijay, all of us were once eternally Krishna conscious. But because of Icha Vesha Sumutena Dharma Mohena, each one of us, because of our desire to enjoy separately from Krishna and try to enjoy like Krishna, Krishna says, well, you can't do that in the spiritual world. All right, you want that? Try it out. See how you like it. So it's everyone has come from the spiritual world ultimately, and they're coming to this world because of that desire to become Krishna and enjoy separately from Krishna. But Krishna says, Yat Gatvani Nivartante Tadhama Parama. But if you go back there, if you go back to Krishna's place, you don't come back here. You learn that sin. Okay? That's well. We have 7 more to go. Are you still with me? Okay. Number 2. What was that? What was 2? What was 2? You remember? Anybody?
Pregnancy. Yeah.
Very good, very good. The pregnancy of Diti. So Kashyapa was a very advanced yogi mystic. And Daksha had different daughters. And he had them married because he wanted them to have, he was also a Prajapati, he wanted them to have children. So several of his daughters, Daksha's daughters, married this Kashyapa Muni, who was a great Brahmin. One of those daughters was Diti. This is in the heaven planets, in the upper planets, Diti. So all the other wives had kids, but Diti didn't have a child yet. So she was feeling a little morose. So Kashyapa Muni was doing his meditation, a little bit, not fully Krishna conscious meditation, but he was doing his meditation. And at that time, Diti became a little bit overwhelmed with her desire to have a child, and was attracted by her husband and wanted to get a child, be inseminated right then and there, right while her husband was doing his spiritual activities. Now, it doesn't always happen this way. So, oftentimes it's the other way around. Isn't it? But anyway, she kind of insisted, and Kashyapa said, well, wait, a couple things. You don't want to do things impulsively. And besides that, the time that's happening right now is dusk. Is the time when it's, still light outside, but the sun is going down. And at that time, all these brutes, brutes?
Yep.
What's a brute?
Ghost.
Yeah, all the associates of like Shiva are running around looking for a place a womb to come into. So it's going to be very inauspicious. There's a bad chance that one of those brutes will come, and that child that's resulted will not be good. She said, no, come on. And you know what? He said, okay. Right in that time when it was inauspicious time, there was sexual activity, and Diti became pregnant. But what happened was Kashyapa said, this is not going to be a good thing. This is going to happen. So when actually twin children went south, you've heard of the expression, born under a bad star. Have you heard that? Never heard that? Anyway, I guess it's an American expression. Anyway, when the twin sons of Diti were born, there was earthquakes, tsunamis, winds were blowing, the jackals, she-jackals particularly, were crying and howling and belching fire. All these cows, instead of milk, they were being milked, they were giving blood, all these inauspicious ceremonies. And so they could tell that this was not very auspicious, this birth of these two boys, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, these two boys. So what do you learn from this? What can you learn from this part? Anything? Well, according, yeah.
Timing is very
Timing,
Yes.
timing of
Yes,
conception.
yes, yes. In the Vedic system, in order to have good children, there's something called Garbhadan Sanskar. Have you heard of that? Because in the Vedic system, it said that the consciousness of the children are one important factor in that is the consciousness of the parents at the time of conception. So in the Hare Krishna movement also, Garbhadan Sanskar means the parents both chant 50 rounds of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra prior to conception. So this is to ensure to make a good chance that the child that's born won't be a burden to the earth, but will be auspicious, beneficial, and Krishna conscious. So that's the kind of thing that's going on here. It didn't go. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Dharma viroda bhuteshu kamosmi bhagatashava. You know that verse? Dharma, I am sex, according to religious principles. I am that. But not anywhere at any time for any other purpose like that. So, okay. Third point. I can see I can run out of time. What was this? Anybody remember the third one? How did Hiranyakashipu get triggered in his pursuit of revenge against the supreme personality? Did you know how it happened? How did it happen? What's that?
His brother got killed.
His brother was killed. Yeah, you're bad. His brother was killed. I mean, up till that point, you didn't hear much about Hiranyakashipu. Hiranya means gold, and Kashipu means soft. So pretty much he was, pursuing gold and having a lot of enjoyment that way. But when his brother was killed, that really ticked him off. And he said, he started to pacify his relatives who were grieving the loss of the brother. And he even started speaking spiritual knowledge to make them not grieve so much. He would say, the body is not the self, the soul is the real self. Don't be misled, don't be mistaken, thinking the body is the self. No, that's foolish. He's telling. But then, the next thing he says is, you remember during the Iraq War, there was, the strategy was to try to kill Saddam Hussein. They call it the decapitation strategy. Do you remember this? Because they wanted to kill the head and then everything else will fall into place. So similarly, Hiranyakashipu thought, okay, so if we can kill Vishnu, then all the demigods will be finished, no problem. They'll fall into line, no problem. So he said, this is what we have to do. So this is very interesting. Are there people who have knowledge of the self, of the soul, but still they want to kill God? Do there exist such people? Yeah, do they? Yes, they do. They're called Mayavadis. Mayavadis. Mayavadis means they think they want to become God. Or they say things like, smash the idols and worship the living God. These are certain sayings they have. And then they put themselves up on the altar. This is how they do things. So this demonic mentality is something consistent even from millions of years ago to the present day. Srila Prabhupada used to say, the desire to become God is the last snare of Maya. So there are various belief systems and philosophies that they have some understanding of the soul, but they try to put God away, to get rid of God, because he's going to interfere for their enjoyment. So this we have to be very careful of. So not only is spiritual life understanding that we're the soul, we're not the body, but that the identity and the purpose of the soul is as an eternal servant of God. We're not just a soul disconnected from reality. Every soul, being part and parcel of God, its natural position is to serve God, serve Krishna. Yes. Okay. So that was triggered by who? What was the triggering event?
Death of his brother.
The death of his brother. Correct. So then he decided. Hiranyakashipu decided. Well, first of all, even before he decided this, first of all, he gave instructions to his associates. You go to all the towns, villages, hermitages, ashrams, burn them down. Burn them down. Kill the cows. If you find somebody who's studying the Vedas, kill that person. Anybody who's performing some austerity, kill them. Burn it down. Burn everything down. You know, this is called asymmetrical warfare, they call it nowadays. They used to do this in Vietnam too. I mean, it's true. You know, the religious kind of fighting was among just between the warriors, the kings, right? The Kshatriyas, the warrior class. But in this age, and in demoniac ways, war means, what do you call it?
Wipe it.
What's it?
Wipe it.
Yeah, wipe the opponents out. It's called genocide. So he was doing genocide. But then, even he started to burn everything down. He stopped all the sacrifices. The demigods, because they weren't getting results of sacrifice, they lost their position. They started wandering around and had no place to go. And even though he developed such power, you know what he thought? It's not enough. Still, it's not enough. He was still, I need more power. So he was very smart. He said, you know, even though I have all this power, what's the problem? I'm going to die. I'm going to die. So I won't be able to keep it. So he was very smart. Nayam devoti hajami loke kastan kaman adani bhipujange. You know what verse? Krishabdev, he says, don't be like an animal and just use your life for getting sense gratification, because that's available to the cats and dogs. I was traveling to Bluebell on Friday, and on the right I passed a strip mall, and there was one store in the strip mall. You know what it said? Cats and dogs rule. That was the name. True. Yeah, cats and dogs rule. Yeah, so we're people, all of us are thinking, life, you know, life is about just satisfying the body. But even a demon understood it. Even a demon knew that his purpose of life shouldn't be, you know, this temporary life. We gotta free ourselves from death. You and I, we're going to face death. We must free ourselves from death. The only problem is he went about it in the wrong way. Lord Krishna gives us a method of how to become immortal. Even though the soul's immortal, under the impression of the body, we become involved in birth and death. So Krishna gives us a method of becoming, getting the full blessings of immortality, but Hiranyakashipu wasn't interested in that. It's something like people nowadays, have you ever heard of cryogenics?
Yeah.
What is cryogenics?
Freezing the body?
Yeah, they're going to freeze your body and thaw it out sometime and bring you back to life that way. So, but that's not going to work. You're going to die and live, even if you could do that. So the real purpose, so Hiranyakashipu was very smart, but only his intelligence only went so far because he didn't surrender to Krishna. Okay. Where are we? My God. Oh yeah. I should probably skip some. So Hiranyakashipu, then his son was born Prahlad. Prahlad, when he went away to practice austerities, Philadelphia Power and Light should probably get some hint from this. He stood on his toes for many, many hundreds of years, and heat started to come out of his hair. I don't know if they could harness that to heat Philadelphia in the wintertime. Anyway, but while he was away doing his austerities, he left his wife alone. And the demigods took the opportunity, let's come. So they captured his wife, Kayatu, and she was pregnant at the time. So Indra, the lord of the demigods, he said, well, hey, like father, like son, right? Like father, like son. The father's a big, big demon. What can you imagine? Look at the son must be a big demon. So he said, let the cat keep her. When the son is born, we'll kill him. Indra came out. He's a dwarf. When the son's born, we'll kill him. He wasn't so heinous as he would kill him in the womb. He wasn't that bad. But anyways, but you know what happened? Nada Muni comes along. He said, no, you don't understand. This person, this soul is a very wonderful soul. Don't bother. I'll take it. So he took Kayadu with him So then, this is really, really something that, does it ever come to you like you're trying to make progress in spiritual life and obstacles come in your way? Does that ever happen? Does it happen? Somebody's giving us a hard time. Does it happen to you?
Always.
Everybody. There's no question it happens to everybody. Because trying to progress in spiritual life is, in a sense, declaring war against Maya. And Maya, the material energy Lord, is very, very powerful. And she will put unlimited obstructions in your path just to test your sincerity. You say, gosh, why don't I just give this up? It's too much trouble. But look at the example of Prahlad Maharaj. His father, who's supposed to be his well-wisher, support, etc. What does his father want to do? Kill him! Not just scold him, not give him a spanking, but assassinate him, kill him. That's pretty serious. And you know how Prahlad Maharaj could have escaped the torture and bad behavior of his father. You know what he could have done?
Dovetailed under his father's.
Yeah, a little more.
Give up bhakti.
All he had to do was give up Krishna consciousness. Then there would be no problem, right? All he could, So we come sometimes, this Krishna consciousness is so hard. I know it's too hard for me. It's too much trouble. Prahlad Maharaj, he's in the point of death. He said, no, I have to still continue. This is an example for us to follow. That's why they're called Mahajans. Mahajanu the example of the Mahajans. Then, Lord, in spite of this torture that he's getting, nothing could happen to Prahlad Maharaj. Therefore, that we say, Rakhe Krishna, Mare Krishna, Rakhe Ke. If Krishna protects you, nobody can kill you. And if Krishna wants to kill you, nobody can protect you. Usually, those who worship the demigods, they're out there for some material gain. So, for example, like Hiranyakashipu had worshipped Brahma to get boons. You'll hear about the boons in the plays. But so there was also a time when Ravana was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. You know that? Mahadev. Yeah. So Lord Shiva was watching the fight between Ravana and Ram. He was witnessing, he was seeing that. And at one point, Ravana was about to be defeated by Ram, who was going to shoot his Brahmashtra arrow and kill Ravana. And you know what Ravana did at that time? He appealed to Lord Shiva and said, come on, I'm your devotee. Protect me, really. And you know what Parvati said? What do you mean? You got to protect him. He's your great devotee. This is your great devotee, Rama. You've got to protect him. Parvati says this. And you know what Shiva says? Hare Krishna. I can't. There's no one. Krishna, Lord Ramchandra says, okay, I can't. Nothing I can do. He's beyond me. So this Lord Narasimha, he's appearing just to protect Prahlad Maharaj. In folklore, you have these different kinds of beings. Like, has anybody here ever seen a mermaid? A mermaid? You know what a mermaid is? What's a mermaid?
Fish-like.
Half fish. I guess it's mermaid too, right? Actually, an interesting point is that, you know who saw mermaids in the Western Hemisphere? Columbus. When he was floating around the Caribbean Sea, he saw mermaids. Every year they have mermaids. You know, people are studying some mermaids. And then there's these things called centaurs and things like that. You heard of centaurs? And there's, the Sagittarius is there, the Kindras, horse bottoms and human tops and stuff like that. But people usually think these are mythological beings. And so then Lord Narasimha, number one, was he born from a mom and dad? No. He wasn't born from a mom and we didn't have, little Narasimha was a mom and Narasimha was a husband, and we didn't see a man and a lion. We didn't see him. He just appeared. And he was half lion and half man. What is going on? How did the digestive system work in this being? How does that, you can think all these things. But really, something to know is that for God, in order to be God, God must be beyond our imagination. He must be the most wonderful. We try to put him inside our little ideas of logic. That is not God. He must be beyond our conceptions. And that being, one example of that being is Lord Narasimha Dev, the head of a lion and the body of a man for his particular purposes. Very wonderful. So Lord Krishna is called Adhokshaja. Lord Narasimha Dev, Adhokshaja. You cannot understand him. Aksha means eyes, and Ja means born of the eyes. By your mental speculation or by your sensory perception, you cannot understand him. Not possible. He's beyond our conception. Yes, it's wonderful. Yes, it's amazing. And that's Lord Narasimha right there. You see? Lord Narasimha. So, then finally, at the end of the last part was Prahlad's prayers. He said, Naivo Dvijay Paradayatya Vaitaranya, Tvadirya Gaya Mahamritamagnichita, So Cheta Tovi Makacheta Sa Indriyata, Maya Sukaya Baramudba Hatovi Viha. He said, very important, he said, Oh my Lord, I am not worried for myself. I'm not worried about crossing over the Vaitari River, which is to get out to the spiritual world. Because just when I chant your holy names in your glory, Mahamrita, I'm experiencing this unlimited ecstasy. Mahamrita, Amrita means nectar, right? Mahamrita, great ecstasy. Magna Chitta, and my consciousness becomes absorbed in that condition. So Cheta Tavimaka Chetas Indiyata Maya Sukaya Varabudbhahaturi. I only am unhappy because I see all these other people doing their thing, going away from you, and they're going to be suffering so much. Therefore, I'm praying you, please help me deliver them. This is the same mood as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He, just like he said, Oh Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction upon the living beings. And therefore you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. So Lord Chaitanya, in the same mood as Prahlad Maharaj, and he is Krishna himself, encouraged everyone to take to Krishna consciousness themselves and introduce it, spread it to others, because that way you will be happy and the whole world will become happy. And that's the desire of Lord Srinadev and the Vaishnava, Prahlad Maharaj. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. I'm sorry there's no time for questions. I probably couldn't answer them. But we're supposed to have a play now. You knew that. You heard that before. So, we didn't go into the boons that Hiranyakashipu got from Lord Brahma. I think you might know them. Not to be killed in the day or the night. Not to be killed by any animal, man or demigod. Not to be in the sky, on the land or the air. So we're going to have this play on the porch, which is not inside or outside. Okay, so you will please recongregate outside and we'll have the thank you very much. Hare Krishna.